Hey everybody, Gary here with Guitar Tricks, and in this video I'm going to go over many different ways to play a G chord. We're going to start with a few variations of just the open G chord, and then I'm going to show you a couple other ways that you might want to experiment with. Before we get into the lesson, please go ahead and click subscribe so that you get all of the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks. If you like these videos, click the like button. If you have a request for a video, please let us know in the comments what's something you're struggling with, what's something you want to know more about. A lot of these videos are made by request. All right, so let's get into it. So the G chord is only 3 notes, G, B, and D. Sometimes beginners think that a G chord is 6 notes, right? Because we play 6 strings. But it's not, because check it out. We've got G, we've got B, we've got D, we've got G, B, and G. And if you play it like this, then it's G, B, D, G, D, G, right? So we're repeating a lot of notes. It's kind of like a piano player playing the same chord with 2 hands or something like that. So we don't have to play all the notes. That's the first thing to realize with any chord is it's just the 3 notes really that you need. So for very beginners, I always recommend just play the G chord with just your ring finger on the high E string, 3rd fret, and then play these 3 strings open. That's a G chord. Or even just the top 3 strings. But as far as playing kind of the full shape that we associate, there's 2 main ways to do it. It's with fingers 2, 1, and 3, middle finger, index finger, and ring finger. Or a ring finger, middle finger, pinky. That's how I play it by default. And then the other way, I call this the super G, is with all 4 fretting fingers. 2nd finger, middle finger, index finger, ring finger, pinky. And we play this note and this note instead of just the open. Okay. Now, whichever way you play it, there's a few things that are going to help you get it. So you want to make sure you're not muting adjacent strings. The biggest challenge for people usually is getting the E string and the A string to ring out. So one big tip I have is to try to play the 3rd fret of the low E string with the bottom part of the flesh. So you want your fingertip to kind of really come up high, and you're just kind of grabbing it with the bottom half of the flesh. Because if you do that, then you could angle a little bit without hitting that A string. But if I try to hit that note dead center on the tip, it's very hard to not get in the way of that A string. And that A string on the 2nd fret is important. That's the 3rd of the chord. That's what makes it major. That's the note B. So that finger you're kind of grabbing on the bottom part of your flesh. And then the other thing is you want to not lock out your joints. I see this happen a lot. People lock out their joints. You want to get your fingers to point straight in, like at a 90-degree angle, right? So I could have my pick just sit on my finger. So in order to do that, you could either do the cowboy grip, you know, where your thumb is over and you're kind of grabbing it like a baseball bat, or you could drop your thumb down. But you want to just get it in a way where those fingers are able to basically point straight in. Except this top finger, it's okay for it to be angled, but like I said, if you grab it on the bottom of the part of the pad, it's not going to mute out that A string. Okay. So doing it with middle finger, index finger, and ring kind of seems like the easier way. And it is by itself. But usually when you're playing open chords, with G as one of them, there's often a C too. And when we play a C, these 2 fingers, ring finger and middle finger, just move down 1 string, and then we have our C. So it makes this transition between G and C very easy. And then on the D, this finger also comes straight down there. So that 2nd finger comes straight down for a D. As opposed to this 2nd finger has to come all the way over there for a D. So I do encourage you to try to play it with these fingers. Now the super G is cool, especially when you're playing a chord progression with, like, let's say a C add 9 and a D sus4 and an E minor 7, because that's a popular guitar thing to do where these two fingers stay static. But as a basic G, as a kind of all-purpose G, I like to either use this one or this one. Another thing is, if you have to mute out the A string, that's okay, because you still get the note B, the open B string. So you could even go like this, just two fingers, or like this, and purposefully touch the A string to mute it, but not the D string. So you could go like that, or like this. That's totally valid. Nothing missing from that chord. Sounds great. I mean, in fact, even the great Jimi Hendrix, he played a G like this most of the time, and he skipped over the A string too. So a lot of times it sounds good to skip over the A string because it gives the E string a little more sonic space. So don't even worry. And I know I kind of contradicted what I said earlier when I said this note is important. It is important, but we also have another one right here. We've got two of them. Okay, so that kind of covers your basic G chords. Now, as far as just mastering the shape, you know you've mastered it when you can hover over where the fingers are supposed to go. If you could hover over and build the kind of constellation, the finger shape, without building it on guitar, because people often go, you know, they build the shape on the guitar. You want to have that shape before you even touch the guitar. So see if you can hover your fingers in place and then drop them down and play the chord. And then lift up again, drop down again. Lift up, drop down. I call this stick the landing. And if you're working on this one, hover, drop, hover, drop. Okay, so that takes care of the main G's. Another cool G to play, of course, is the G bar chord. Now for the bar chord, first thing you want to do is be able to get your index to go like this on the 3rd fret and get all those notes to ring out. I like to do a twisting motion. I drop my wrist down, the thumb is straight up and down on the back of the neck, a little to this side of my index finger so that I can do this twist. And I leverage these muscles and do a bit of a twist, and it's kind of the side of my finger so that I have some wiggle room without leaving the strings. I could wiggle and not lose any of the notes, whereas if I was straight on, there's zero wiggle room. The moment I wiggle, notes get muted. So I twist a little, get the side of the finger, elbow comes in, and then again, these fingers now can point straight in where they need to go. And the other thing is you want your ring finger and pinky to be a unit. They're kind of like super glued together. The pinky's a little tucked under, and they go on these two notes on the 5th fret of the A and the D string, and then that middle finger comes down and hits the 4th fret on the G string. They're coming in straight on, and this one straight up and down. Again, can you hover that? See if you could hover that shape and then drop it down instead of building it on the fretboard. It'll take some time, but that will really help you get the shape together. Another one's this one. This is the D shape of a G chord, right? Here's the root. So it's like playing a D. This is D sharp, this is E, this is F, F sharp, G. All these chords are movable. All these shapes are movable. Now another one I really like is the C shape, like this. But without the root. I like to play it starting on the 3rd. And you just bar the 1st finger on these 3 on fret 7. Then put the 2nd finger on the root on fret 8 of the B string pointing straight in. And then put the ring finger on fret 9 of the D string. So we've got right? Technically this is the full D shape, but no one plays it like that because it's awkward. And this is the full C shape. And then last but not least, we have the A shape, which would be this, like an A chord. And this one's great. This little triad is so great to just bar on the 12th fret, strings 2, 3, 4, counting toes to nose, and then adding the root on the 10th fret of the A string. And that one, you see my elbow comes out the other way because I want to get the outer portion of this finger as the bar. But I'm going to be careful not to play this note. So I angle my finger in just a way that that E string gets muted. Right? And I also mute out the low E string with the tip of my index finger. So the E's get muted. And then if we look again at the G over here, that's the same thing, but just an octave higher. And that's a great voicing. Again, it shares this little triad with the A shape, but now we play it with our index finger, that little triad. And we add our pinky to this root on the 15th fret of the high E string. Or we could add the 3rd with our ring finger on the 14th fret of the A string. And that one's great for adding pentatonics. A lot of players that mix together lead and rhythm love the G shapes. Because it frees up these fingers to do cool lead things. Same with the C shape. So that pretty much covers the G chord. Like I said, with all these shapes, you want to hover, and that's how you really get them. If you can play the shape in the air and be just over, and then drop it down, you'll really commit that shape to your muscle memory. All right, everybody, I hope this lesson was helpful. If you want to take a step-by-step approach to learning guitar, head over to guitartricks.com. There's a huge library of song lessons, as well as courses on guitar fundamentals, blues, country, rock, and an ever-growing library of other lessons. Happy playing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.